Hey everybody, in this episode of Let's Play for Free, I will be reviewing the open beta version of Nosgoth. Nosgoth is developed by Psyonix and published by Square Enix. It is based on the lore and world from the Legacy of Kain series. More accurately so, for those that might know a thing or two about the Legacy of Kain lore, Nosgoth takes place between the time when Raziel, the first lieutenant of Kain, is thrown into the abyss, and the time he is brought back as a wraith and the Reaver of Souls. Within that period of Raziel's 600-year torment or something like that, the war between Kain's empire and his vampire clans wages on with the humans. This is the era in which this title takes place. Nosgoth refers to the location and the lands where all this happens. When I first heard about Nosgoth and it being a free-to-play online game, I was psyched. I already had the game figured out as a large open world or even instanced RPG game with classes and progression and whatnot. Clearly I went a little bit overboard with excitement, only to find out in the following moments that it was just an arena-like PvP game. That was the first blow that made me feel like it was a waste of the franchise, especially after waiting for so long for a continuation to the Defiance chapter and the whole story with the Hilden, which pretty much left the story open from there on. Even so, I was still somewhat excited, nonetheless, being a huge fan of the Legacy of Kain series. Finding out that it all takes place in the time where Raziel is pretty much in the abyss had me turned off even more, since Raziel is evidently my favorite character and anti-hero of the series. I'm not the only one. I mean, how cool can a character get? He is a betrayed, executed, and damned vampire, the first lieutenant to Kain's empire, now turned wraith and back from the dead, hellbent on claiming vengeance against his kin with the power to feed on the souls of other vampires. That is simply just one of the most awesome backstories ever. How can anybody not love this character? Regardless, I was still quite excited for the title, even more so after seeing the extra added attention from the studio to all the lore and how they took care of it, and they made a believer out of me into expecting something that wasn't going to be all that bad. I was looking forward to a mediocre and casual game that will satisfy me nonetheless, purely for the fact that it was based on one of my favorite game franchises ever. The open beta phase is finally here, and I have to say, oh my god, did they surprise the hell out of me. Maybe I'm a little biased because I am indeed a Legacy of Kain fan, but I don't care. The game is so much fun. It is simply awesome. It outperformed all my expectations and kept me surprised and guessing quite a bit, I would say. Definitely one of the better open beta launches I have experienced for a very long time. The idea is pretty much an asymmetrical arena shooter, more or less. I was very curious as to how they would pull this off, but I have to be honest, I wasn't too skeptical or shocked. It sounded like a cool idea. I just needed to see it in action to make up my own mind on it myself. To that end, I was always from the go routing for the vampires. I couldn't wait for the game to start up. Haven't been this excited for a while now, probably since Shogun 2, Street Fighter 4, Need for Speed, Hot Pursuit 2010 and Skyrim, which were pretty much the reboots of my childhood. Nosgoth, although not being like other Legacy of Kain titles, which were a story-driven adventure, it still was enough to make me excited and fit my "damn I can't wait to play this" list. Soon enough, the game begins, and there I am startled with the first decision that put me off. I couldn't select to play with the vampires. In Nosgoth, the matches are made up of 2 rounds, with deathmatch being the basic game mode available. First team with 30 kills within 10 minutes wins, or the team with the most kills by the time those 10 minutes are depleted. Once the first round is over, the players switch teams, that being those that fought with the vampires now take on the humans and the other way around. I didn't like this, as I didn't want to play with the humans at all. But I eventually tried to let this pass, thinking that perhaps the vampires are so cool, no one would want to play with the humans, and perhaps they needed to make this option so everyone would play with the humans too. Funny story, after a couple hours of play, I came to love the humans just as much as the vampires, which brings me to the first thing I want to touch on with Nosgoth, the faction balancing. For an asymmetrical game, I have to say, they pulled off and managed to make one amazingly balanced and awesome experience. It is definitely so much fun. I simply couldn't get my hands off it. Playing with both factions adds to learning each side better, seeing your weaknesses in battle as one side and using them against that faction when you switch, and so on. The learning curve with this approach is immaculate. You truly feel as though you are progressing in skill throughout the game in a manner which is as balanced as these two factions themselves are. It's all about learning the advantages and disadvantages of each side and how they work that makes each confrontation after that simply perfect. Vampires rely more on their melee and brute force, along with some nifty skills like flying, leaping, turning into smoke, mind control, and more, whilst the humans are equipped with ranged weaponry and gadgets to take on the vampires and hunt them down effectively. This gameplay was so unexpected, it was a truly delightful surprise. More on this, however. I would like it if they added a game mode in the future with faction selection alone, that being selecting one side, human or vampire, and sticking to that throughout a tournament ladder or whatnot. To further explain what I mean, I think they should keep the mandatory faction experience as is. This is one of the core elements to the game's learning curve and experience at the moment, and I think it should stay that way. They shouldn't change that. They should simply at level 20 or 30, once all the classes have been unlocked in each faction, give access to a realm versus realm kind of game mode. Players can at this point enter week-long or even month-long events as either human or vampire, where matches are played out between the two sides for overall control and domination of the regions of Nosgoth. Easily done by adding more arenas and maps and setting them to different locations in Nosgoth, with each game being played being counted towards the final result of that event. Just a thought. It would be nice to have an event that feels a little bit deeper than just your average deathmatch arena, where all you do collectively as a faction works towards a certain goal. It will definitely make the feel of war between these two factions much more evident in the title as well. Which now brings us to the content of the game. At the moment, Nosgoth is at around 4 or 5 maps I think, and 2 game modes, Deathmatch and Flashpoint. Flashpoint is more or less a domination-like game mode, where you need to capture locations to win. Not too much to go on for now, but it's more than enough for an open beta. There are 4 classes available on each side, with one more coming soon on each faction for both humans and vampires, and an entire range of skills and weapons, skins, and even finisher moves for your vampires that are also available. These are all, apart from the skins, purchasable through the in-game currency for a limited time of 7 days or permanently for a higher price. Reaching levels from there on with specific character classes rewards you with items as well for that class, whilst the vampires unlock their evolved skins for free at level 25, which is awesome and overall aims at a very balanced shop. There is nothing pay to win about this title at all, and the shop is pretty fair. This does not feel to be the case at all when one starts playing the game. It's important that I point this out because it can make a lot of people feel as if it's on the rather unbalanced side of things or even feel as a pay-to-win title. This is a false assumption. It simply has a learning curve of its own. I, for starters, never played this crap in any first or third person shooter, and I have to tell you, this was the first title that had me sitting in my first matches at a wonderful 0 kills and something like 5 to 10 deaths, bringing me also to the false assumption that it is unbalanced. There is a mode selection at the start, one for normal deathmatch games and another for beginners under level 10. I will have you know this does not work, since I could easily join the beginner matches at level 12 and 13 just to see if I could, so this obviously needs a little bit of fixing. Anyhow, my first game and I'm getting pawned. Soon as I see the other team having 3 Razialim vampires flying around, which are unlocked at level 5 or by purchase, I felt cheated. First thing I'm thinking is that this is unbalanced and they are taking us on with overpowered classes. Next round, we are the vampires, and I see 3 scouts against us. That means that in total the other players have had to have been either level 10 to have scouts and Razialim unlocked, or purchased both of them, I thought. And of course we got our asses handed to us. For the first matches, I felt very frustrated. Then, before long, I was level 5 myself. I jumped on to unlock Raziel on the spot, thinking I now have the overpowered class in my hands. Nope, not overpowered, not overpowered at all. The Raziel turned out to be actually in some ways worse from the class that I was used to, mostly because they were new to me, at which point I realized the other players simply made it look easy, and there I came to appreciate the game even more at that point for its player skill. It became clear, and this is what I wanted mostly to point out, that even with the very first classes available and the very first skills available, you can be as effective as any veteran out there. Skill upgrades are not upgrades at all, they are side grades, and the game truly is balanced, and kudos to Psyonix, there is absolutely nothing pay to win about this title. It is, however, a heavily team-driven game. This means that great matches are all a matter of chance and who you are teamed up with, making the experience quite frustrating when you're teamed up with players that simply go their own way and do whatever they feel. Even if you have a good team, it still isn't enough. If the enemy has a good team too, you will find that making strategies on the go will be the only way one side will prevail over the other. Frustrating when matched with people that don't work as a team, and simply addictive and fun when matched with people that do, even when you lose. To be honest, this game was so addictive for me, I kept wanting to play it even when teamed up with unwanted players. For a team arena game based on asymmetrical combat, even with such a simple game mode at most, the likes of Deathmatch, I will have to say this is easily one of the better titles I have played for a very long time, making so much fun to be had out of seemingly so little content. That is a true achievement. The visuals follow the Legacy of Kain Defiance roots and are simply awesome. Darkly with slight cartoon-like palettes and very bloody as well. Character voiceovers and map designs are just amazing, with such hints to Legacy of Kain lore as well, such as the likes of the Shrine of Raziel featuring his statue in a temple-like level, and so much more. The music is great, though I find it could be better. To be honest, I have some pretty high expectations in the music side of things for this specific title, and that being because the soundtracks to the Soul Reavers and Defiance were simply amazing. I really feel that they need to take some more pointers from the old soundtracks to add a couple of tracks in there that will do the franchise justice. On the bug side of things, apart from matchmaking selections which don't seem to make a difference, I only encountered one problem where the sound effects were completely turned off during a match, and one more bug where our match was interrupted, sending us back to the lobby only to start the match again from the beginning. The performance of the game feels immaculate. It's truly AAA standards and quality. Legacy of Kain combat never felt this fluent and good, with great responsiveness even at higher pings of 150 at times. I have to say I am really pleased with this open beta. I did not expect to get hooked so fast, so bad. I can't comment on the longevity of the game as it is still quite early, and how fast one will get bored of it is something for the future to tell for now. As a game, that being a title not having much more added to it for the final release, this game objectively is an indifferent rating of neither thumbs up, neither thumbs down, and stands at 7 out of 10. Worth checking out, but nothing too special. Some elements might have you coming back for more, with some addictive gameplay to be had. As a better version, with the idea of a lot more being added to it, it's perfect in presentation and performance, and is a definite thumbs up, standing at 8 out of 10, meaning you should definitely try this out. Enough potential to keep one hooked, and if not, definitely worth the experience for a casual visit. My own biased opinion? Well, I'm not gonna rate it like that. I will simply say that I am hooked. I find it to be simply addictive, but then again, I am a Legacy of Kain fan, and this is after all only the beginning of my stay in this game. I would definitely recommend this game to gamers that enjoy first-person and third-person shooter PvP on a competitive and team-based level. For fans of the Legacy of Kain series, again, if you enjoy PvP and third-person shooters, this is a keeper. I will definitely be keeping an eye on the progress of this title and would love to review it again once Nosgoth reaches its complete state and comes out of its beta phase. And that's it for this episode of Let's Play It for Free. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed my video, and please feel free to check out the rest of my channel and my other free-to-play reviews as well. Until next time, this was Hazard Reborn.